Hello everybody, I'm Butcher3. Welcome to my channel. This video is the first video where I want to start from the very basics of this game. I want to introduce to all of you that just came into this game how to start with it, how you have to approach to this game, and the very basic stuff you need to know to perform at least average since the very beginning. But without further ado, let's get into the game. Since the very first moment you step into the battlefield, you must know that you have much more things beside the cannon that can work for you to win a battle. First of all, we got the battlefield. The battlefield gives you a lot of good positions and things that can cover you from the enemy, such as rocks, buildings, bridges, ditches, and so on. All the battlefield ground can give you a good cover against your enemies. The conformation of the terrain is what you want to use as a shield against your enemy. Will give you the chance to make difficult for your enemy to hit you and sometimes even to spot you, becoming a real weapon. Second thing you want always to do is to check the minimap. The minimap is a huge weapon you got against your enemy if you learn how to use it. It gives you a lot of good information. First of all, where are your enemy? Sounds very obvious, but you want always to be aware where are all of the spotted enemies. Not just the ones that are very close to you that you can see, but even the ones that are on the other side of the map. Because you want to know where they are and how they are moving on the map. Then it gives you also another good information, still very obvious but not so much, and is where are your teammates? Because sometimes during the battle you are so focused on the action that you don't realize that your mates, some are getting killed and some other maybe are moving somewhere else and you are remaining alone, and that's not what you want to do. So you have always to check the minimap to know everything is happening around you. Take always the chance to have a look to the minimap, maybe every 30 seconds more or less, and check what is going on around you. This will improve a lot your effectiveness on the battlefield. Okay, third thing that I want to talk about is the movement. Mind always to have a little movement back and forth, even staying still, never stay really still. Always a little movement back and forth, but do it always. This will make for your enemies much more hard to hit you, because a moving target is a harder target to hit. So keep on doing that every time. Take it as a standard thing to do anytime you are staying still in a place. Move back and forth. Believe me, it's something that will help you a lot surviving on the fields. Another thing about movement is the relocation. Relocate yourself in the map as much as you can. Above all, if you are a light tank, try always to surprise your enemy in position where they don't expect you at all. Never stay always in the same spot. Never pull out or expose yourself from the same ridge in the same position, because your enemy will start to aim to you in the right spot, and the next time you pull out they will shoot you and hit you. Try always to have a good surprise effect on your enemy. Next thing I want to talk about is the armament. Your armament is based on the armor and the gun. About the armor, I have to contradict the first tutorial that you find in the game from Wargaming, because it teaches you to bounce the shot with the front plate of the tank. When leveling up, you will realize that the front plate of a tank, and above all the lower front plate of a tank, is one of the weakest part of every tank. So you will want to rely much more on the sides of your armor or the turret instead of the front plate. So try to rely much more on the battlefield and the ground and the rocks and the covers that you have around, instead to rely on the front plate of your tank, because it can be panned much more than how much you can expect. About the gun, is important to know exactly how does work the mechanic of the gun and handle it in the right way. First of all, we got the aiming. In the center of your screen you can see you have a green circle. That circle, while you aim to a target, will start to get smaller, and when it stops to get smaller, that is the maximum precision that your gun can allow you to have. There are a lot of techniques about to use the aiming in a proper way. One of these techniques will teach you that if you turn your turret to the left or to the right, or you go back and forth, your circle will don't become too much big, so your aiming is still a lot precise. Instead, if you are going to turn your trucks, you will see that circle will become very huge. So your dispersion will rise a lot and the chances to miss the shot will be a lot. So always mind when you aim to an enemy to never turn your trucks, or your dispersion will make your shot get missed. Same thing is about to shoot on the run. If you want to shoot on the run, never turn to the left or to the right. Try to take a straight way and keep your turret still, and when your target is on your sight, you can shoot. Never turn your trucks or you will miss the shot. A little note about the aiming. You don't have always to wait the aiming circle to get to its minimum size, because many times will happen to you that you will have to make very quick shots on the run, or maybe pull out from a ridge, shoot and then get into cover, and you will never have the chance to wait until the circle gets smaller and smaller to the minimum, or you will get shot back. So just mind always that the center of your circle is aimed to a point of the enemy tank that can be penned. That's the main thing you want to do. Last thing I want to talk about gun are the ammunition. More or less from the tier 4 you will have all the 3 possible kind of shells, which are the AP, regular standard ammunition, then there are the APCR or heat that are the premium ammunition, and then there are the HE, which are the high explosive ammunition. What you want to know is about the premium shells. The premium shells are shells that deal less damage compared to the AP, but have much more penetration. You will want to use them when you are facing a tank that have a very thick armor that your gun cannot overwhelm. So you will switch into these shells and you will have much more chances to pen the enemy. The high explosive shell instead are very particular. It will start to be very effective from tier 8, in my opinion, 9, 10. You can use them even at tier 6, but yeah, they are not so effective down there unless you don't have a very big gun that can hit very hard, and above all on a very weak side that is the back of a tank. You never want to use an HE in the front of the tank because it will just do a splash damage, which will normally deal a very small amount of damages. So first of all, try to use as much AP as possible, and just in case of emergency use the APCR. This is not because the APCR cannot be used, but just because as much as you learn how to use the AP and which are the weak spots that you can pen with the AP, as much as your skill will rise very quick. Because anyone is able to load APCR and start to shoot around and pen every time. Instead, use AP and know where is the weak spot of the enemy makes you a much more skilled player and deal a higher amount of damage as well. At last, don't forget when you are choosing the amount of shells you want to bring into the field to switch from the gold payment into a coin payment about the APCR shells, because otherwise you will start to shoot gold instead to shoot shells. Alright, just mind about it. And here we go with the last tip about the camo or concealment. You have to know that every tank have an amount of concealment. The light tank are the tanks with much more concealment compared to the mediums, the heavies and the TDs. But how does it work? Every tank have a certain amount of concealment and a certain spotting range. Of course, the light tank are the one with the wider spotting range compared to the other tanks, and as well a very good amount of concealment. This makes them as spotters for the team. The role of a light tank is always a spotter because they are very quick and they have this characteristic about the camo. This camo characteristic get down while you're doing such particular things like if you stay still behind the bush, that is the maximum effectiveness of your camo. Then you start to lose concealment while you should stay still, even more if you are running in the open, and you reach the lower effectiveness of your camo shooting on the run. In the end, there is a very particular mechanic of the spotting. If you get 50 meters close to the enemy into a range from 0 to 50 meters, you will spot the enemy even if they are behind a building, behind a rock, behind a full cover. You will anyway spot them and they will spot you back, of course, for the same mechanic. So within a distance of 50 meters, you will spot the enemy and the enemy will spot you back. As I mentioned before, use the bushes is the better way to rise your camo effectiveness. You want to place yourself behind the bush and stay still. Opposite to what I said at the beginning of the video, when you go behind the bush, you want to stay still in that position. And when you shoot, instead you can back up into cover or anyway try to see if the enemy is far enough that they will don't spot you back. Because if you are a TD, for example, you can even stay behind the bush and shoot, and they will don't spot you even shooting. The bush will rise a lot your camo effectiveness, and that is what you want to be as much effective as possible. In the end, the very last thing about the camo is how to reset it. You will need in the battle to relocate yourself or try to take off attention from you, and you want to have the chance to don't let the enemy know where exactly you are. So you want to reset your camo, don't let them know where you are and get unspotted. To do that, you will just need to get a little bit away from the front line if you are there, try to take a little bit of distance from the enemy and place yourself behind a building, a rock, behind something that will fully cover you. Not a bush in this case, not a bush, because it will don't give you the chance to reset your camo, but something very huge that will cover all of your tank. And you stay there for roughly 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, you will be sure 100% that you are not spotted anymore unless there are enemy within 50 meters from you. Okay, so these are all the basic information I think everybody must know at the beginning of this game to perform in at least, as I said, an average way, even better if you are enough skilled yourself. Oh yeah, and please, never stop in the open to shoot an enemy just because it's crossing in front of you. This is not what you want. The first thing you want to do when you're fighting is to find a safe position in the battlefield. First of all, find always a safe position and then manage to start to shoot the enemies. Because if you have an easy target in front of you and you want to shoot him, well, you become an easy target for all the enemy tanks that are not spotted yet. So mind always to find a safe position. If you have an easy target on the way, try to shoot it on the run maybe, but never stop and shoot in the open. Don't do that or you will be the first of your team to go back to the garage. After that, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please push that like button under the video and feel free to subscribe and share this video. I'll be back with another video very soon. In the meantime, enjoy the game, have fun, and happy tanking. See you next time, guys. Bea Fiori!